Ever wanted to play a game in the perspective of a young adult in Japan going through the motions of every second in a day on a quest to avenge your father's death? Well, you can do that in Shenmue, and I've played all of them. Is it worth it? Well, I'll tell you. My name is Fortifier, and welcome to Series Slayer Episode 1. The Dreamcast was a console that was the result of many mistakes from Sega catching up to them. The Master System was really cool, but not nearly as popular as the NES. The Genesis? Pretty badass, but then the console wars kicked off, and Sega pretty much put all of their chips on keeping the Genesis alive for years. If you take a look at a Sega CD and a 32X add-on on top of a Genesis, it kinda looks like it's on life support. The Saturn was pretty cool, but it was short-lived, and it all comes to an end with the Dreamcast. I love the Saturn and the Dreamcast, and honestly, I wish that they lived just a little bit longer, because for the most part, the games are really cool. But on every console, you will always have something known as cult classics. Over time, I've learned that if you combine the words cult and classic, it means one of two things. Either the game's a gem that nobody really knows about, or the game's so bad that it's totally fucked, and it's infamous. Shenmue to me is a little bit of a mixture of both of them. It's a very great game, but it's also one of the most monotonous games that I've ever played, ever. Let's talk about it. Fair warning though, this video will contain minor spoilers about the storyline, so if you've never played Shenmue or any of the other games in the series and you want to, then I suggest avoiding this video until you've spent all the time necessary to actually complete all of the intricacies of this game. Here we go. Shenmue was released on the Dreamcast exclusively in 1999. As time went on, they re-released it for Windows, PS4, and the Xbox One. It was the brainchild of Yu Suzuki, who I genuinely think lives life like 1 second at a time, always watching the clock. We're here in this authentic place in Japan known as Yokosuka, where on a snowy day you come home to see your wooden banner fucked, a nice car, and your granny Ine-san, who is a actual pimp and finances your gachapon addiction, lying on the floor after getting her shit rocked. You enter the dojo and see this guy, Fuku-san. He's a very close friend of yours, and he gets falcon punched through a door. Plot element. This guy's a fucking clown. Who's in here? Why, none other than your father and a man wearing a really nice emerald onesie from China named Lon D. He's looking for a mirror to do his makeup with. Anyway, after some verbal exchanges and customary kung fu, Lon D rocks your dad's shit and falcon punches his way into finding one of the two legendary mirrors, the Dragon Mirror. And now, we're playing the game. So what makes the game unique? Well, it's from the visual perspective of Ryu Hazuki through a day-to-day basis. It's not totally 24 hours in a day that you're playing the game, but it does drag on. Essentially, the whole plot of it is try to piece together what happened to your dad by finding as much knowledge as you can. How do you do that? You talk to everyone. And I do mean everyone. Anybody who has any insight on what's going on. You'll have to ask people about a car that drove by, if they've ever seen any skinheads, if they know where to find sailors.
Place where sailors hang out? Do you know of a place where sailors hang out? Do you know any places where sailors hang out around here? I'm looking for sailors. Sailors? I'm looking for sailors. Sailors? Do you know anywhere sailors go to hang out?
Where Chinese restaurants are, if they know anything about a secret criminal organization, and more. These are the only ways to progress the storyline, and to unlock more content, you have to ask more questions. Luckily, all of these are kept in your handy notebook that actually helps remind you of what's going on at all times. Which you're gonna need. Trust me. Sometimes when you ask the right question and get the right location, you even have to wait one whole day. And guess what? You can't skip time.
I see. I see. I see.
I see.
I see. I see. I see. I see. I see. I see.
You gotta waste the whole day doing whatever you want. That could be buying a soda, getting gachapon stuffs, talking to people for no reason, flirting with Nezumi like you don't know what a titty is, and being offered processed meat by a culturally appropriating Japanese guy getting drug money from your grandma, playing in arcades, or wondering what the fuck was in the sardines you gave the cat. Personally, I found that spending money in the arcade was the way to go. You have a few options too. Check them out if you get a chance. How can you afford it? Easy. Grandma sells a lot of drugs, and every morning she gives you a fair share of her cut. Make sure that you pick up this money too, because you're gonna need it. Eventually you're gonna have to spend some money to progress the story, but that's cool because you can race forklifts and then work at the docks! And you'll do this every day for like a week. Then you fight a bunch of douchebags and have an epic cliffhanger setting us up for Shenmue 2. Shenmue itself is a really cool game. If I had to pick one out of the 3 in the trilogy, I definitely go with the first game. We would get a sequel 2 years later, but this time it was released awkwardly. In the US, we had it on the Xbox, and in Japan, it was on the Dreamcast. No big deal, Microsoft just really likes having exclusives. Anyway, this game picks up where we left before, when Ryu leaves Yokosuka to head to Wankai, which is a port town in Hong Kong. Right away, you can tell they beefed up the community. You'll see tons of salespeople, tons of action going on, and it's a really authentic feel of a bustling port town. Then you remember what you're playing, and it hits you that there's like a 500% chance that you're gonna have to talk to every single one of these motherfucking people. Welcome to Shenmue 2. Alright, let's get going. We get off the boat, head to some apartments, but not before mandatory conversations with literally everybody that you walk by asking you if you want to buy some stupid shit. Then you get robbed, then you almost get run over by this absolute 10 of a human being, Joy. She helps you by giving you direction and recovering your lost goods, and eventually sets you up in a hotel, and it's time to start your question quest, asking everybody about relevant things. Here's the kicker though, you're in the real world now, so no more mooching off of your grandma. Now you have to actually work because you have to pay for your hotel room. Oh, by the way, whenever your bag got stolen earlier in the game, they stole your money. So how do you work? Well, ask around until you get to the piers and work with Du Lin, moving crates. Eventually you'll start learning new kung fu and you'll make it to Kowloon where your quest continues, and after many times falling off this fucking plank, you'll make it to Guilin to meet somebody named Shinhua, and there you go. I obviously cut off a large amount of the storyline because it's really something to experience on your own. Shenmue 2 as a game was really fun. I felt that it polished a lot of the issues that were present in Shenmue 1, and the game was totally awesome up until the absolute end, where you spend almost 10 minutes listening to a girl babble for the sake of story. You're walking down a path, there's nothing relevant, you're just asking each other 20 questions. Then after Shenmue 2, the series went dark for a while. The Dreamcast was dead, and the series was pretty much in development hell. Then 18 years later, we would get a shocking addition to the series, with Shenmue 3. Let's talk about how we got there. Shenmue 3 was supposed to be on the Dreamcast, but for obvious reasons this didn't occur. Then Suzuki tried pushing for this MMORPG called Shenmue Online for the Chinese and Korean markets, but it never really succeeded. Tons of people wanted a continuation in the storyline, and eventually at E3 in 2015, Suzuki announced Shenmue 3 for the PS4 and Windows, which was to be financed through Kickstarter, and it would be released in 2019. So we should be good to go, right? We should be good to go. We should be able to end this epic story that we've waited, what, 15, 17 years for? No, it didn't end. Shenmue 3 picks up with you being in Bayou Village, living with Shinhua, searching for your dad, and finding clues about your dad's origins by doing the same shit that you did in the previous games, talking to tons of people. Which is fine, this is a formula for Shenmue, but they added tons of bullshit that killed the game for me. Number 1. You have a stamina bar for running. It does not replenish unless you eat, so hope you're ready to buy about 1,500 cabbages and eat the damn things whole to replace your health. 2. You're broke. You need to chop wood or gamble to get money. And 3. You've totally forgotten every single fucking kung fu move that you've picked out throughout the series. It's a cash grab, and it's a joke. And I hated every second of it. One thing I do want to point out is that on the Dreamcast there was this thing called Shenmue Passport, so any moves that you had you were able to translate, but obviously that didn't exist from the Dreamcast to PC. Eventually, after doing a metric fuck ton of walking back and forth for what seems like a month, you get to Niaowu, where it kind of feels like Shenmue all over again. From Guilin to Niaowu, this game is a faithful continuation, but that didn't really do it for me. So that begs the question, is it worth it? No, it's not worth it. Shenmue is a treat, it's an experience, and it's a game unlike any other series that you will ever play. But it's stuck to the same formula. Now, this isn't inherently bad. The formula always goes like this. Number 1, get quests. Number 2, get answers. Number 3, get kung fu. Number 4, get new location. Number 5, get paywall. And yes, every game has a paywall with in-game currency. In Shenmue 1, you need to buy a ticket to Hong Kong. In Shenmue 2, you have to pay Cool Z $500 to see Rin. And in Shenmue 3, you have to pay 2,000 yen to buy alcohol to learn a necessary move to progress the story. Chopping wood only gives you about 77 yen on average, so you need to chop wood excellently 30 times perfectly to get enough money to progress, all while going through the motions of keeping your kung fu up. The reason why I don't suggest this series is because throughout all of the games, it feels like Ryu does not accomplish anything. He literally goes from Japan to Hong Kong to China, to search for a guy that he's run into 3 times now and hasn't done anything to him or even concluded the story. To me, it seems like the story keeps getting dragged out much longer than it needs to be. But Suzuki mentioned that it's supposed to be a 4-game series. The third entry has elements that no longer fit with the story, the acting is off kilter, and the style of game is just outdated, and that's a shame. It's 2020, it's time to get rid of the crummy controls and the shitty economy and work towards a strong conclusion of this epic story that's been begging to be ended for so long. Anyway, that's my take on it, and if you like what you saw, please don't hesitate to subscribe, and if you like retro gaming, feel free to hop over to my Twitch stream, where the link is down below. Anyway, that's my take on it. If you like what you saw, please don't hesitate to subscribe, and if you enjoy retro gaming, feel free to hop over to my Twitch stream, where the link is down below. As always, from my family to your family, good energy, good vibes, Fortifier out.